right. Welcome everybody, to those joining here in Chicago and everybody online. My name is Pavan Taparia. I'm part of the Copilot Studio Product Engineering Group. We're going to have Mads Bolaris and Vij Shari join me on stage, different segments of the presentation today. But we're excited to have you all here. We're excited because we've got lots to talk about. And here's how we'll spend the next 45 minutes together. We'll start off by setting some context on how we think about agents and copilots and the different ways we're enabling our customers to build them. Then we'll explain our approach of how we are bringing Copilot Studio and Azure AI closer to each other, which will lead into a nice demo of showcasing how the tooling is all coming together. And finally, we're very pleased to have Bobby from ABN AMRO come on stage and share with us their journey of using Copilot Studio and Azure to build agents to deliver accelerated business outcomes. So let's jump right in. I'll spend a quick minute or here setting context. So you've already heard most of our leaders talk about Copilot and agents, so I'll just spend a few seconds restating how we think about these two concepts broadly. Think of Copilot as the UI for AI. It is your personal assistant enhancing your capabilities at work, ensuring personalized AI for everyone. Agents, you can think of them as experts that are operating independently to retrieve knowledge, to trigger action on behalf of your end users, to automate business processes that you have. As you can imagine, there are significantly many more agents than people in an organization. And these agents exist on a spectrum. We've enabled organizations, large and small, build agents, varying from simple to advanced, and there are some common types that are emerging. While these aren't official technical names for the agents that you build, but many customers start their agent building journey building simple retrieval agents that can reason over your data, generate insights and answers to questions that your customers may have. As customers gain more maturity in starting to build these agents that execute actions, they can start building agents that execute actions on behalf of end users, automating these complex, multi-step workflows using just simple natural language. Just imagine placing orders, making booking appointments, or even booking a vacation, all through the power of natural language. These two are table stakes for any conversational AI platform. But why stop there? With generative AI, we are now seeing customers build agents that can operate independently, ones that can create dynamic plans to address end users' asks, all with just natural language. Imagine having these agents automatically triggering orders with your suppliers when stock levels are low, finding a substitute when a team member calls in sick, or connect with employees with the right mentors and the training resources matching their own development plans. Microsoft has all the tools for you to build such agents. More than 100,000 customers across industries have built agents to improve performance while reducing costs and risks. Let's take a look at a few of these customers and how they have built these agents. Rabobank, a customer-facing conversational banking agent, has automated key repetitive tasks that customers were calling into their contact centers, thereby freeing tremendous amount of human capital, which now is redirected to more complex tasks instead. Their agent is operating on multiple channels and has already resulted in up to 50% deflection. That's just phenomenal. PayPal has built an internal-facing agent that synthesizes knowledge across 20 different knowledge sources and is also executing actions on behalf of their employees, thereby reducing operational costs by up to 40%. HP has built a customer-facing agent that supports customers across their large suite of products and services, automating almost 1.7 million conversations every month. So next time you have a paper jam at 2 a.m. or you need to order ink, well, there's an agent for that. Now that you've heard how we think about agents, let's spend some time thinking about the tools that are made available to you depending on where you are in the agent building journey. Well, good news, Microsoft has the best tools available for you to build your agents. You can use Copilot Studio, Visual Studio, or GitHub, depending on where you are. While these tools work great independently, we've heard your asks. You don't want to pick one over the other or want these tools to work separately. You want these to work better together. For example, Copilot Studio offers you to build agents with out-of-the-box models with over 15 channels automatically integrated so that your agents can show up wherever your customers are, whether on Teams, Outlook, Facebook Messenger, wherever they are. Likewise, today it's either impossible or extremely hard to bring in pro-code components from Azure, like large knowledge sets, customized fine-tuned models, into your agents built with Copilot Studio to build your custom RAG solutions. This leads you to basically sacrifice features by picking a tool that meets most of your needs. And beyond product synergies, you've also shared how hard it is and complicated it is to license these products, especially when you're looking to use them together. Well, we've heard your feedback loud and clear and are happy to share that no matter if you're building an agent using natural language or pro code, we're building the natural synergies in these products and services. For example, you've already seen how easy it is to build agents using just natural language with Agent Builder. And when you're ready to add those step-by-step workflows, trigger actions, or expose those channels to the other channels, you can easily extend them using Copilot Studio. Likewise, if you're already building agents using pro-code components, like knowledge or leveraging one of those 1,800 plus foundational models, bringing them into Copilot Studio or vice versa should be straightforward and seamless. I'll focus the remainder of my presentation on the second half. In the end, what I would like you to take away is that no matter where you are in your agent building journey, Copilot Studio allows you to build those better together experiences. Let's take a look at what Copilot Studio has to offer. Copilot Studio is the best tool to build agents to automate business workflows. You can quickly build intelligent, multimodal, multi-channel experiences using our intuitive authoring experience. We are a managed SaaS platform with full governance and compliance capabilities that require no custom infrastructure for you to manage or deploy. It's just all taken care of. We've even shipped pre-built templates to get you started quickly. You can have your agents in over 15 plus channels, like Teams, M365 Copilot, and even deploy it to your custom contact centers, like Rabobank. Best of all, you can easily bring in existing investments from Azure into Copilot Studio because we're consciously making Copilot Studio and Azure better together. Let's take a look at some of the product synergies you'll start seeing this week. We want you to start building your agents in Copilot Studio so that you can build them faster, deploy and realize the value faster. And as your needs evolve, you can bring in existing investments from Azure just to make those agents better. And we're making it easier for you to do just that. And today I'm excited to announce 2 new integrations into Copilot Studio. First, you will be able to bring large vectorized indexes built in Azure AI Search as knowledge in Copilot Studio. These knowledge sets can be used to power your custom RAG solutions. Next, we'll be able to selectively use any of the 1,800 plus Azure AI models in Model Catalog along with your agents built in Copilot Studio, giving your agents the deeper understanding for topics and questions that it may be asked to generate those rich insights to serve your end users better. If you choose to start building your journey in a code-first environment like Visual Studio or GitHub, leveraging the Azure AI Foundry, you can bring in Copilot Studio components into those solutions and deploy them across all the channels Copilot Studio has using the Microsoft Agent SDK. Learn more about that in a breakout tomorrow, breakout 167 tomorrow. And finally, we're not only bringing Copilot Studio and Azure together in terms of product capabilities, but we're also making Copilot Studio more Azure-friendly in terms of a business model update. Today, we're excited to announce that Copilot Studio will be available as a metered service, just like your other Azure services, starting December 1st. It will also be Mac eligible, allowing you to retire your Microsoft Azure commitments much faster. All right, enough with those announcements. Who's ready for a demo? Awesome. All right, here I am in a Copilot Studio experience, and I'm going to go start with building an agent. And this agent is for Contosa Financial, that is basically a wealth advisor agent that we want to go build. Like I mentioned earlier, there are templates that you can get started with, but we're going to start from scratch. So I'm going to go just click here, and I'm going to simply describe what I want this agent to do. And with just that, the agent is starting to get built. Notice how with a simple prompt, it has automatically assumed certain instructions that it needs to honor when it is responding to customers. It's asking me whether it should call itself an investment advisor. I said, nope, let's just call you a wealth advisor. And it continues to keep asking me questions so that it understands what I want it to do. So now it's asking me if I should avoid certain things. So I'm just going to say provide factual and honest insights. In terms of tone, oops. I want it to be polite and formal. And notice how the instructions keep updating as I'm answering these questions. All right, now the most important part. Your agents need knowledge for it to reason over those. So it's asking me which knowledge sources should it use. I'm going to provide it with two knowledge URLs, public URLs, sec.gov and investor.gov. And with just that, the agent is ready to be created. Once I'm hitting create, all the required services are essentially getting stitched together, and the agent is available for you to use just for, with that knowledge source. All right, let's put it to the test. I'm going to simply ask it a simple question. What are the key investment strategies for beginners? And when this question is being sent, the agent is going to reason over the knowledge and ground its responses on only the knowledge sources that are made available. And in this case, it came back and it said, key investment strategies, look at asset allocation, diversification, risk tolerance, rebalancing, and also manage your investment choices. I wish I had this kind of information with me when I was, 10 years ago. All right, let me ask it another question. What are the common risks associated with investment? How can I mitigate them? Very general questions available on websites like SEC and investor.gov. There you go. In just a few steps, I have a fully functioning agent that can reason over knowledge from the two URLs that I provided. Now, let's take it a step further. I want to ask it some company-specific information, specifically around Microsoft's current debt level compared to its historical debt levels. So what the agent has understood is that it's not able to answer this particular question because it doesn't have enough knowledge to be able to respond to it. But it did try. And this is where we can extend into Azure AI Search. So Mads, if you want to come on stage and show us how we can help with this agent get more knowledge to answer company-specific information.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for inviting me on the stage. So let's go ahead and actually switch over to.
That's you.
Oh, you're throwing me. OK, cool. Yeah, so what you're looking at on the screen is the Azure AI Foundry, which is the home for all of the AI components that you want to use for pro-code AI app development. Now, what one needs is access to Azure AI indexes, searching, so that we can provide this agent some more information to answer the questions that he's wanting to answer. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to look at all the different assets that I have within Azure AI Foundry. There's obviously models, data, indexes. That's the one we want. So let's go ahead and click on it. We can see all these different data files. We're not going to dwell on that too long because we want to drive into indexes. What can our agent actually search over? So in order to give all the information that's necessary to this agent, we're going to go ahead and create a brand new index, select a data source, and we can start seeing all the different types of data we can bring into this Azure AI Search Index. Things already in Azure AI Foundry, blob storage, maybe a storage URL, but I'm just going to go ahead and just upload files. And if that list isn't enough, you can use pro-code development to ingest data from essentially anywhere, right? So I'm going to go ahead and upload some files. I've earlier downloaded a bunch of quarterly earnings reports from Microsoft that I can go ahead and upload into this index. And what we will do in Microsoft is ingest all that data so that we can index it and allow the agent to search over it. I'm not going to finish this off, though. It takes a while to do some of that indexing. I've actually already created an index called Financial Reports 10K. And that's what we're going to be using in Copilot Studio. Now, as a pro dev, you probably don't want to be bouncing between these two different platforms all the time. So if you wanted to, you can also use the brand new Azure AI Agent Service within Azure AI Foundry to select an agent, add in those knowledge sources like Azure AI Search, so that you can actually start testing it inside of here, validate that it's pulling the right information before going to Copilot Studio. But I don't want to steal his thunder, so I'm going to let you go back to Copilot Studio and try out this new index.
Thank you, Matt. That's super helpful. All right, so back in Copilot Studio, thank you, Matt, for that. I'm going to go into knowledge. And just you see the two public websites that we have. I can simply click on add. And beyond public websites, we can also add SharePoint sites. You could add Dataverse tables. You could also upload files as knowledge. But here we are. We want to go add Azure AI Search. The other thing I want to show is that there are many more that are available, and they are all governable. So you can turn these things off as needed. But here we are. Thank you, Mads, for the Azure AI Search Index. I'm going to use a pre-existing connection that I have on that, which it looked, and then going to hit next. It should pull. Yep, there you go. That's the vector index that Mads built for me. Click on add.
It's a scary part of live demos.
And here we are. It's ready for use. All right, let's put it to the test. I'm going to ask it the same question and see what it comes back with.
The even scarier part of live demos with AI.
All right, there you go. So the Copilot agent was able to retrieve. Yes, you can get clap. What you just saw was the agent was essentially used this as a knowledge source, found the right answer to this particular question from the search results, and then essentially synthesized all that knowledge to provide an answer to the question that the user asked. All of that was done in a few steps. If that was easy, you can clap again.
And while this demo did show the no-code super simple across both Copilot Studio and Azure AI Foundry, the benefit of Azure AI Foundry is it is pro code. You can create as complex data ingestion pipelines as you want to bring that data into Azure AI Search so that you can then bring it into Copilot Studio.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. I'm going to try one more question, just make sure that this is fully working. So the other thing I want to talk about is Copilot Studio allows you to build contextual conversations. This question that I just asked it, I did not provide Microsoft. I just simply said, how has their dividend policy evolved? And so the runtime is smart enough to send in the relevant context back to the knowledge sources so that the right information can be retrieved and then it can be reasoned over when it's essentially returning. So it knew that it's basically asking about Microsoft's dividend policy, and it provided a response from those SEC documents that Mads uploaded. All right, let's take it a step further. I'm going to ask it a little bit more complex question. I'm going to ask it, what do Microsoft's, with the typo, financial ratios such as P&E, ROE, ROA reveal about financial health? So, of course, typos are OK because the model can smartly detect that this is what you really mean. And you should come back with information that it has. In this case, yet again, the retrieved documents, including the Azure AI Search that Mads added, did not include enough information about things like the price over earnings or return on equity or return on assets. It was not able to answer these or calculate these complex financial calculations. And so I'm sure Azure AI has a solution for that too, Mads.
Yes. So what we can do at this point is we can build or bring in a fine-tuned model. Basically, what we're seeing here is it's pulling all the right information, but it's not synthesizing it in necessarily the way we want. It's not looking for these acronyms and actually pulling the data, the analysis that we need to give to our customers. And so if we go back to Azure AI Foundry, I kind of skipped over models. What we're going to be doing is creating a fine-tuned version. So I'll go ahead and click on fine-tuned in this left nav. We can see I've already started doing some of them in the past. I'll click fine-tuned model. And what this allows me to do is select a bunch of different models across both OpenAI and the Microsoft Models as Service catalog that I can improve with sample data. So I'll go ahead and select GPT-4o. That's my current favorite model. Go ahead and hit confirm. And just walk through this wizard. So we'll go ahead and add in some information, go to our training data, and this is where we actually need to provide the data that allows us to steer the AI, steer the model to answer the questions the way we want it to. Now, I've created a file here of that training data, which is basically just a bunch of sample conversations back and forth between the AI. And if you want to do this right, you actually are probably going to have to create dozens, if not hundreds, of these different sample conversations to fine-tune the AI. This is hard work. We admit that. And that's why Microsoft is really proud to announce partnerships with partners like Scale AI that specialize in helping you label your own data and create this these fine-tuned models. If you want compliant models that help you with compliance, there's also partners like Safer. So if we come back here, I can go ahead and select that JSON-L file with all of my training data, and I can go ahead and move through this wizard. Again, it takes a while to actually have all this kind of baked, so I've already created this model, and I've already deployed it to my list of models. So I can see all the models that I have in Azure AI Foundry, with the specialized finance model being one of them. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to you. And
all right.
Let's see
I'll be
this
right here.
model in action. Oop.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
right here.
This one. Great.
OK, so we have a fine-tuned model, a fine-tuned specialized model that can understand those terms. Now, to get to use them, we need to go create a topic. So let's go and create a topic. I'm going to go ahead and click on Add New Topic. And I'm going to give it some trigger phrases. These are terms that will signal to our orchestrator to essentially call this topic whenever somebody is using those terms. So I've basically dropped in those terms like price over earnings, return on equity, anything that requires a custom model to be called. I'm going to go ahead and save it, call it address complex financial calculations, question. Hit save. All right. And so now I'm ready to do the next step. So I have a topic that is fully ready. What I want to do next is essentially add a node to this topic. Just like any other model calling, it needs knowledge. And so my next step is essentially going to be calling this model with this term to search the existing knowledge sources that I have. I have 3 now. I have Azure AI Search, I have the 2 public URLs. And you can add additional knowledge sources that you want to go do. So this step essentially is calling using the question that the user asked, which is in activity.txt. And I'm going to store the results of whatever it was able to find in my knowledge in my data sources into a variable, which is the data source that the model is going to use to respond to that particular question. So I'm going to use this called knowledge search output. Great. All right. So we've got a topic that will get triggered on those specialized terms. It'll use the user's question to search over existing knowledge that my agent already has, and it will return the results into that particular variable called knowledge search output. All right, now I'm ready to call the model. So I'm going to create call an action, new action, and I'm going to use the same step-by-step wizard flow using the same existing connection string. So I'm going to make a connection string to the model that Mads created, which is a specialized financial model, which understands these terms. I'm going to get the URL. Awesome. So one more step of creating the deployment. All right, so now what I'm doing is essentially adding a prompt to instruct the model to use the data that I created previously, using the question that the user asked, and make sure it's grounding the answer only on the data that was basically supplied to it in the prior step. And this experience is similar to the one that you're used to seeing in AI Builder. All right, now I have my AI model ready to be called. Let's put it to a test. OK, I'm back in the experience. I'm going to ask it the same question that I asked it previously. Hopefully, you trained it well.
Yes. We'll find out.
All right, so what's happening here on the left is that you're seeing that that topic that I created has been triggered because the question was such. And what you see on the right is now the response is coming back from, again, it went through step by step. It collected the knowledge source. It used the knowledge that was available. It searched across it. It passed that data to the customized model that Mads created, and out came a response. And when you see the response, it is understood what price over earnings are, what return on equity is, and it's able to provide a more meaningful response with those specialized terms. All right, let's take it one step further. I'm going to ask it another question. This one is more around return on equity. So if all's good, it will do the same thing. It will trigger the same topic. It will go through the search experiences again using existing knowledge. and it will pass that information to the customized model, and it'll come back. There you go. So it did come back, and it basically says return on equity is about 8.6% calculated, dividing net income over total stock equity. So let me just pause here to just tell you what is happening here. What we've just able to achieve in just 3 steps is the ability for your agent to now better understand your end users. You can now create an agent that is fine-tuned to your terminology, to your unique business processes, so that it fits like a glove. And it's able to leverage existing knowledge that you have already supplied it to the agent, and use its own knowledge and the knowledge that you've provided it to essentially reason over and provide answers. So let's recap. What we saw was Copilot Studio is one of the best tools available to you to automate business processes. You can get started quickly to build these agents. And once these agents can be built, you can further enhance them with information and large knowledge sources available in Azure AI Search. What we also saw that if you want your agent if you want your agent's understanding to go deeper, you can extend it with Azure AI's 1,800 plus model catalog, and essentially add that understanding. This integration will be private preview coming soon after Ignite. All right, now I'm super delighted to invite on stage customer from ABN AMRO, Bobby and Vid, to tell us a little bit more about their journey with Copilot Studio in Azure.
Thank you.
Wasn't that a great demo, guys?
Thank you.
Wasn't that a great demo, guys? Thanks a lot, Pawan. Thanks a lot, Mads. I'm sure everyone's excited to see these two toolkits come together. I'm Vid. I work in Copilot Studio Marketing, and I am very, very pleased to have Bobby from ABN AMRO here to talk about how you've used both Copilot Studio and Azure to help build your customer interaction toolkit. But before we get started, Bobby, can you tell everyone here a little bit about who ABN AMRO is, and you should introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, thanks, Vid, for having me here on stage. Yeah, so my name is Bob. I'm working as an IT lead within ABN AMRO. Shortly introducing ABN AMRO to you. We're a bank from the Netherlands. We have a clear purpose, banking for better for generations to come. We operate mainly from the northwest of Europe. Our clearing bank also has some offices in Asia and Americas. We're divided over 3 client units: personal and business banking, wealth management, and corporate banking. We have over 5 million account holders in the Netherlands, about 350,000 SME clients. We are leading private bank for the Netherlands, Germany, Belgium, and France, and we serve over 9,000 corporate customers.
Awesome. So you're a large bank. You're in a highly regulated industry. Tell me a little bit of how you think about your customer interaction strategy, and also give us a sense of the scale of this customer interaction strategy.
Yeah, let's first start with that strategy. So we have a banking strategy that says that we want to become a personal bank in a digital age, founded by 3 pillars. My story today will reside in the reinventing the customer experience part, and then specifically on the customer interaction strategy indeed. And that customer interaction strategy is best summarized in a promise that we made to our customers that we're working on to get there. And the promise is, I promise you that the digital interaction with ABN AMRO feels like a personal one-on-one conversation, and our services are friction-free and with added value. A beautiful sentence, right? So shared it here. But this is really what we use as a guiding star to work towards, that one-on-one conversation that really feels natural in our digital context. So you're talking about scale as well. So I have some numbers here. Don't memorize them, it's not important, but it gives a bit of a context. On the top, you see the interactions that we have where still a human is involved, and at the bottom, you see the more automated and fully digital solutions. For us, it's important to automate large parts of the interactions that we have with clients, because it enables our staff to focus, to give their expertise at the right moments that matter for our clients. So last years we have been working on automating parts of the interaction that we have with our clients. And now we're really focusing on making sure that we boost the customer experience. And obviously, the field of generative AI for us is the way to go if you want to go to a more personal dialogue in a digital interaction. So that is where we're really focused on to make that journey. And we started that mid last year. We also started then with looking around, like who's the best partner for us to help us in that journey. And it won't be a surprise to you that it was Microsoft Copilot Studio, because I'm standing here on this stage, right? So.
Yeah, so obviously highly regulated industry, highly regulated environment, given where you are, large scale, as we've seen. Tell us how you've used Copilot Studio and Azure to solve for your customer interaction needs.
Yeah, so this session is called Better Together. I think this is a live demo of that. These are our building blocks. So you see Copilot Studio in the middle, really acting as the orchestrator in our conversations. And surrounding that, you have all kinds of Azure services and Azure infra that is really helping us to deliver on all the promises that we made to the customer. And like I said, we did an RFP last year. It means that we just migrated towards Copilot Studio. It took us 6 months to do that, out of which 3 was really an extensive risk assessment of whether we could use this technology in the right way that we intended it for. So there was quite a quick migration, if you ask me. And we feel that we now have the setup to basically build a lot of new conversational AI products with this setup.
Yeah, and we're excited to continue working together as well, which sets us up nicely to talk about the future. How are you going to leverage some of the announcements we've made today and bringing Copilot and Azure together, and continue using what you're already using to further your customer interaction and employee engagement approaches?
Yeah, so what we did at ABN AMRO was first start with a quick thing to show that generative AI really could bring value. Built with Azure OpenAI, that was the Advisor Assist topic that you see here. What we did basically is summarize all the conversations that an agent has with his client for him, so that he can put that summary into our CRM system automatically, which saves a lot of time for agents to basically that they cannot spend with customers otherwise. So that was the first thing. We started doing that with 20 advisors, helping them, and that was all a great experiment. Now we're doing that with more than 600 advisors already, and we're still looking on to scale that to other contact centers as well that we have. A different thing is when you're really going to put the AI out to customers directly. So in our bots, we want to use the generative AI directly towards customers. That takes a little bit more time to think how you're going to do that. The human is not in the loop anymore. And I'm actually quite proud to say that we designed that from the beginning, and in the migration, we really set it up to do it like that. And this morning, as I said here, the new Gen AI bot soon to be launched. This morning we did the pre-launch. It's now live for 20% of our customers. Thank you. And it's a full Gen AI bot on WhatsApp. That is there because it's going to learn us a lot about how that interaction will go if you have a fully Gen AI bot live. Then we also have our main chatbot that is doing the 2 million conversations a year now at this moment. She's called Anna. And we are basically not going to fully swap that at once into a full Gen AI chatbot, but we're going to do that step by step, making adjustments and seeing how clients react to it. And basically adding new features every time we do that. So we have a whole roadmap for that lined up, but maybe I can present that next year here.
Yes, and we'd love to have you back. And this is exactly why we love having customers like ABN showcase how multiple toolkits come together. Thanks a lot for joining us, Bobby. If you don't mind, I'm going to grab the clicker. There we go. Thanks a lot, everyone, for coming and learning a little bit about both how Copilot Studio and Azure come together, what announcements we made today in terms of product integrations, as well as business model changes, and hearing from a live case of having demonstrated how they use both together. You can learn more about everything else Copilot Studio in any of the links that you see here. And you'll definitely see the story in greater detail of ABN AMRO in customers.microsoft.com. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we'd love to hear how we did.